Yes, I mean, I suppose there are a couple of others that come to mind as being more common. So there's one called alopecia areata. That's an autoimmune kind of hair loss, where it most often presents as circular patches of hair loss that happen quite suddenly. Often it happens after stress, and they're like a little coin. Most of the time, about 80% of the time, it gets better after a year or so. It's perhaps most commonly seen in general practice, and people sort of come really scared because they're thinking, okay, I've lost this hair, what's going to happen next? And I think the downside of it is it's a very unpredictable condition. And some people, an unfortunate few, will go on to have total hair loss. But those people, you can often tell that it's going to be quite severe because of how quickly it happens. And I think those people need to be seen by a dermatologist, because there are some very exciting new developments in the medication world that people now have access, that are now being offered. And these drugs are called JAK inhibitors. So the average GP can't prescribe it. As a dermatologist who specialises in hair loss can prescribe that. If you see your GP may also ask, look into whether you've got other autoimmune conditions. Would say that I see more often, particularly because when black women, they see obviously I'm black, and I understand about hair care practices and things like that, and I don't judge people. There's a particular hair loss. Well, it's funny, I know I say that, but sometimes people come to me with horror stories about what has happened to them when they've gone to see a professional about their hair loss. They're made to feel guilty that it's their hair care practices, that they shouldn't do this, they shouldn't do that. But in actual fact, there may be there's often an underlying reason why they're losing their hair. So one other condition that I've seen that's more common in black women is something called CCCA. It's short for Centrifugal Alopecia, which I know is a bit of a mouthful.
Yes.
But, yeah, it's essentially, it starts off as a sort of a shiny patch of hair loss at the top of the scalp that gradually spreads out over a period of years. And sometimes people don't notice there's a problem because obviously it's a part of your head that you can't see. And some people just think, oh, well, my head feels a bit cold. But if people don't tell you that there's something going on up there, you don't know that there is actually something happening. And there's actually, it had been recognised back in the 60s, but hadn't received a lot of attention, and it was thought to be due to the hot comb. But then they used to call it hot comb alopecia. But then as the years went on, and chemical processing came into play, they realised that actually it wasn't that, but they did notice that there was still an association with certain hair care practices like relaxers and perms. And towards the beginning of last year, I think, they actually found that there was a gene, sort of a gene abnormality that was found to be more common in people with this condition. And again, these were studies in South Africa, and but which was absolutely fascinating. And I think that took the blame almost out of it, because there are some people who, if they have the genetic predisposition to have this type of hair loss, if they do certain practice on their hair, then they are more likely to lose their hair than other people. So again, it's relaxers and braids, where in people with this genetic issue that are more likely to get hair loss. And so essentially with this condition, it's not really very well known amongst GPs, and there isn't really much information in the mainstream about it, which hopefully will change now, because I understand that the British Association of Dermatologists will be producing an information leaflet about it, which is really great news. But we have to look to America from other societies like the Skin of Colour Society to kind of give us some guidance on what should be done. But again, if somebody has this condition, don't be fobbed off if you suspect that you might have it. See somebody who can support you in your journey, because sometimes when people come to me and they explain that they've got this form of hair loss, it's the beginning of a journey to get them to see a dermatologist, because there are things that can help, like steroid injections can be tried, and also other potent medications may be tried by some dermatologists depending on the stage of the disease.